Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 4 of My Dress Up Darling. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. So last we left off, Marin sort of dropped the bombshell that Gojo's got 2 weeks to sew up this whole outfit. And, I don't sew or anything, but it's pretty clear that it's definitely going to be a tall order and a rush job at the very least. In no small part because he's never really made anything for people before. Man, I have been in situations like this where there is a firm deadline and a near impossible task. That stuff just sucks beyond belief. Probably all the worst times in my life have been under circumstances like this. Ah, man. Gojo's just spiraling, the poor guy. He's thinking about how much work every individual step is. So I feel like there's going to be some tension between Gojo and his grandfather since he's, spending time with friends when he previously hadn't had any. This is definitely out of character. Oh dear, here we go. Man, why is my teenage grandson carrying around real lacy stockings? Surely this is normal. Oh jeez, this took a dark turn. Fell over backwards out of surprise and he landed himself in the hospital. Normally they play off a pratfall like that as a joke, but holy shit. They're playing this straight. His father went to the hospital and probably broke a hip. Oh my god. So, I don't think there's really been any explanation who this woman is, but I think the only real suggestion here, based on the dialogue, is that she's gotta be Gojo's sister, or something like that. It's interesting that nothing like that's ever been mentioned. One would think it would have at least merited a passing, mention. But I guess the long and the short of this is that this is basically a big thing that's sidetracking Gojo from working on the dress. I mean, granted, it's understandable that he had to attend to a family emergency, but it's not helping his situation. It's bad enough that he even missed a day of school and is going after school, too. So this isn't good. You know, Marin is understanding of his situation, but, you know, this is eating up, like, what, 2 days out of 14? And, you know, Gojo's a pretty lucky guy scoring a phone number like that, even if only because she wants to help his grandfather, given that he'd fallen down. Oh, no. Midterms too? Oh my gosh, if I was Gojo, I'd be filling up the bathtub and plugging in the toaster. This is an absolute nightmare. Oh man, midterms, having to sew a dress, having to take care of an elderly family member. That's like the trifecta of horrible things. Oh no, this can't be anything good. Alright, so this guy really likes Hina dolls, but he wants a tour like right away. Oh, Gojo. Like, I know Gojo appreciates people who appreciate the art, so I feel like he can't deny them. Oh, Gojo. You know, this is a pattern I'm noticing in this episode. You know, you can't really say no or disappoint people. And I think that's essentially a good trait in him, but it's really being pushed to a fault here. That was time he couldn't afford to spend, and he spent it. Yeah, I think if I were him, I'd be having a nervous breakdown by this point. Frankly, I don't see how he can manage it. Cramming for midterms, taking care of a family member, giving a tour, sewing the dress itself. So, I mean, if he's the only one giving the tour, that's gotta be an involved process. You know, it's not something passive where he can say, like, you know, take a peek around. Man, I feel like the music is appropriately tense for this situation. Oh dear. Man, everybody's celebrating the end of midterms and Gojo still looks gloomy because the weight hasn't been lifted off his shoulders. He has a dress to finish. Something's up here. Marin doesn't quite seem to know exactly the pressure he's under. And she doesn't strike me as the excessively airheaded type to not quite understand that. Oh man, things are getting bad. He's living in squalor. Oh man, I've had days like that where you have like a really bad tension headache. Man, even as he's suffering and like trying to get his absolutely fatigued body up, he can't help but think about how he really doesn't want to disappoint Marin. Poor guy. You know, I've noticed this is the third flashback in about as many episodes where he sort of reflects on advice his grandfather's given him. And of course, Gojo's sort of taking the wrong lesson from it, I think. That working hard does not necessarily pay off, but if you don't work hard, things definitely won't pay off. Working hard is what gives you the opportunity for things to pay off. You know, I don't entirely blame him for despairing. And I hate how biographical this feels. This is most unpleasant. You know, I wish they had at least consulted me before they started writing about my life. So I think Grandpa's advice in the second flashback is, I guess, the appropriate corollary to the first set of advice. You know, it is hard work, but because you love it, it's bearable. And it's the end result that makes it ultimately worth it. So it might be a real pain now, but seeing people enjoying the fruits of the labor is what ultimately makes it worth it. You know, this is almost like the romantic comedy equivalent of the heroic second wind. You know, thinking about the person he'll disappoint, he somehow manages to find the strength to continue working in what are presumably the early hours of the morning. Oh, Gojo, you madman. For want of scissors, he cuts the throat with his teeth. It's not as easy as he made it out to look. You know, I've done that before, and it's actually kind of difficult, although maybe I've just got shitty teeth. So very, very early on a Saturday morning, Gojo managed to finish the dress. Man, Gojo looks like hell. So there we have it. It was a misunderstanding all along. Oh man. Gojo essentially self-imposed the 2-week deadline. Yikes, that was a failure of communication. At least Marin's apologetic about the whole thing, and at least Gojo is relieved rather than upset. Oh, man. Yeah, it's nice to be appreciated for all the hard work he's put in. How incredibly wholesome. I thought this was gonna be like a trashy run-of-the-mill romantic comedy, but this is actually quite nice. Man, it's so refreshing to see people behaving somewhat rationally and seeming to start to learn from their mistakes rather than endlessly repeating the same things over and over again and being upset with the results. Oh man. Can Gojo ever stop? I feel like he's tapped into an endless wellspring of energy at this point. It really was that advice from his grandfather. The happiness of the client is what makes it worth it. So I guess this is where the moment of truth comes in. Obviously she's gonna have to try it on. So interestingly, Gojo seems to have thought about the makeup aspects of this too, I don't really know anything about cosplay, but it seems like they use a special kind of tape or contouring makeup to sort of change the shape of the eyes to better match the character. This might be a cultural thing, and maybe just because of how I am, but it really seems like that's a bridge too far just for cosplay. I mean, if you want to be accurate, you want to be accurate, and you should go all the way, but at the same time, it feels like, to me at least, that's a bit absurd. Well, that's kind of interesting. Gojo's claim that the art of Hina dolls is being somewhat modernized. That's interesting, because I was given to think he was a very, very conservative, traditional art form. I wonder if that's true, actually. That might just be something they're making up. I might look into that. Ooh, something's going on here. Marin is focusing an awful lot on how Gojo's smiling. Surely we're not hinting at a little bit of romantic interest between the two. So it's interesting that Marin is so dedicated to this cosplay that she actually shaves off her eyebrows to have them redrawn. Personally, I would find that a bridge too far as well. I don't know, I guess that's why I don't do it. Well, there we go. As it turns out, all of Gojo's hard work has truly paid off. He has made a marvelous piece of art. And it's nice and wholesome. The nature of the character in question notwithstanding. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.